Picture this. It's a warm summer evening in Tokyo during Obon, Japan's most sacred holiday, when millions travel home to honor their ancestors. Among the packed aircraft on the tarmac sits a Boeing 747, preparing for a routine 54-minute flight to Osaka with 524 people on board. Only 12 minutes after takeoff, a thunderous explosion tears through the aircraft. All flight controls go dead. The pilots are suddenly flying a machine that no longer responds to their commands. This is the story of courage, tragedy, and a maintenance error with catastrophic consequences. So, stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for extreme turbulence, because this is Final Boarding Call. Hello, and welcome to Final Boarding Call. I am your disaster-obsessed host, Alice.
I'm Zach, designated homebody husband. You know,
Yes, you are.
doing the thing.
Love that for you. I really do.
I didn't leave the house once today and I loved it.
Oy.
I did go outside,
You did.
okay? It's not that I was
100%.
chained inside.
No.
As I told all of my friends on Facebook, she put a kennel outside for me to play in.
Squeeze me. For some context around that very bizarre comment, I did decorate our house for Christmas and Hanukkah today.
Yes, Christmas and Hanukkah
Yes,
in the same house
Christmas
from
Hanukkah.
the same person.
It is truly my favorite time of year. I have 2 holidays to celebrate. What's better than that? And I am sipping out of my huge mug, like one of the biggest mugs you've ever seen. And it says, "Meet me by the menorah."
She loves a big mug.
Love a big mug. Happy holidays, folks. Sources for today's episode: Mayday or Disaster, Season 3, Episode 3, titled Out of Control. A YouTube video called Fascinating Horror. That's the name of the channel. Wow, that was difficult. The name of the channel. And then the official Japan Aircraft Accident Investigation Commission report. Folks, it's all listed in the show notes. You know the drill by now. Let's jump in. Trigger warning that this episode will lightly touch on suicide. Our story today actually begins 7 years before the disaster. We are talking about June 2nd, 1978. A Boeing 747, which for those of you that are maybe new to our podcast, a Boeing 747 is a mothership of an airplane.
She a big girl.
She a big girl. They have a mysterious upstairs, guys. So they look very distinct because they have like a weird hump kind of on the top of them where there's like a bougie upstairs. I have a theory that it's an aquarium. Zach disagrees with me. It's fine. Zach is shaking his head at me. That is the plane that we're talking about today. It's a big, big girl. This one specifically is operated by Japan Airlines. This one is approaching Atami Airport, and it's preparing for a landing on runway 32L. This, folks, should be completely routine. It was a routine flight, but something goes wrong on touchdown. The aircraft bounces and then comes down hard at a sharp angle. The tail strikes the runway.
As they landed? Like they just had the front end up so high?
Mm-hmm. So it bounces, and it bounced so hard that the tail struck the runway because it literally broke its tailbone.
Stop. The owner of the aircraft, too, or the airline was just like, God damn it, seriously?
Oh, my gosh.
All you have to do is land the plane.
I know. It's a Boeing, so Boeing technicians perform the repairs, and the aircraft returns to service. Fast forward to August 12th, 1985. It's the eve of Obon, Japan's most important holiday when families honor their ancestors and they return to their hometowns. Tokyo's Haneda Airport is absolutely mobbed with travelers desperate to get home for the holidays. The aircraft preparing for Flight 123 is a Boeing 747 SR.
SR is super range.
Short range.
Super duper.
No, just short. It's
Oh,
just short.
okay.
Like me. SR. It's a short range. This particular aircraft, registration JA8119, is configured with 524 seats.
So many seats.
I know. I didn't write this in my notes, but in case you needed an explanation, SR, which stands for short range, means that this plane is used for short flights, not international super long range flights.
Less fuel, but lots of seats.
Yes. The 747 is the queen of the skies. So this is interesting because the boarding process of a 747, my God, it can take like 40 minutes to get everybody on one of these things because there's so many freaking people. And this entire flight is like 50 minutes. I just thought that was so funny. At gate 18, 524 passengers board. Families that are heading home for the holidays, business travelers, elderly grandparents, and among them is off-duty flight attendant Yumi Ochiai, settling into row 56 near the back. Also aboard is beloved singer Kyo Sakamoto, whose hit Sukiyaki topped U.S. charts in 1963. None suspect that their aircraft carries a 7-year-old time bomb. In the cockpit, Captain Masami Takahama, a 49-year-old veteran with over 12,400 flight hours, prepares for a routine flight. It always should be a routine flight, right? Like that's when you're starting it out. It's like, oh, this is just my job. It's a flight.
I fly from here to here. This is what I do.
We're good. And he is actually training our first officer. So we have First Officer Yutaka Sasaki, who is 39, and he is undergoing final evaluation for his promotion to captain. Because it is the 80s, we've got a flight engineer. We have...
And smokers.
And probably some people smoking. Flight engineer Hiroshi Fukuda is 46, and he manages the aircraft's systems with his side-facing panel. At 6:04 p.m., Flight 123 pushes back from the gate 12 minutes behind schedule. I mean...
12 minutes isn't going to make or break most things.
No, you're fine. The route will take them south over Sagami Bay, then southwest towards Osaka. Exactly 54 minutes of flight time. At 6:12 p.m., First Officer Sasaki advances the throttles and the massive Boeing 747 begins its takeoff roll at 174 miles per hour. He pulls back the controls and the jumbo jet lifts gracefully into the evening sky. As the aircraft climbs towards 24,000 feet, everything appears completely normal. Deep within the aircraft's structure, metal is beginning to fail. For 7 years, microscopic cracks have been growing through a vital component with every flight, every pressurization cycle. The aircraft has completed 18,835 flights since that repair in 1978.
Good Lord, that's a busy plane.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm already immediately feeling like they did a fabrication patch job and it's just over the seams. They welded a plate and that plate, I don't know, had some kind of porosity or something. So it's just cracking the whole time.
Oh, this is going to be a fun one for us to dive into because the actual uncovering of what happened in this one is pretty wild. At 6:24 p.m., Japan Airlines Flight 123 is climbing through 24,400 feet over Sagami Bay. In the cabin, flight attendants are preparing for beverage service.
On a 50-minute flight?
I'm telling you, Zach,
the 80s. They were a different time.
Fucking 80s. Light up a cig and get a Manhattan. And just, okay, well, then, without warning, the world explodes. The sound is like a bomb detonating inside the aircraft. A massive, thunderous bang. The cabin around the rear lavatories erupts. A thick fog instantly fills the cabin as the pressurized air turns to vapor. Something experienced passengers immediately recognize as explosive decompression. Oxygen masks drop from the overhead compartments. So, explosive decompression. Commercial aircraft fly at altitudes where the outside air is too thin to breathe. At 24,000 feet, humans can't breathe. That is like
not very goodly.
Not goodly, for sure. Atmospheric pressure is only about 40% of sea level, so that is why the cabin is pressurized. It is pumped full of compressed air to maintain pressure equivalent to about, do you remember, this is a totally random thing that we talked about like one time, but do you remember the altitude that we keep a plane at? It's interesting because it's kind of close to.
Yeah, I think it was like 5,000 or something, maybe 4,000 feet.
It's 8,000.
8,000. Oh, okay.
8,000 feet above sea level, which means if you are a mountain person, you're primed and ready to go fly. This creates a pressure difference between inside and outside the aircraft. The cabin is at about 11 pounds per square inch. Outside is at 5.5. Basically, imagine that there's a ton of air trying to escape the airplane and get outside because the pressure is so much higher inside than outside. It's like a can of Pillsbury dough. You know, that's like the best analogy I could think of, because the second you puncture one of those things, the whole can just like totally erupts. That happened. The can done did explode. In the cockpit, alarms start blaring. Captain Takahama's voice, captured on the cockpit voice recorder, says simply, "Not good. Something's exploded."
Keen observer.
Still, I think that an observation I had when I was researching this episode that's really interesting is, and I think it has to go to the culture of Japan, but the level-headedness and just calm approach of our pilots throughout this entire thing is remarkable. Like, just unfucking bothered.
I do picture, like in old movies, you have like a Japanese mob boss smoking a cigarette or something. Like this explosion happens, he's like, "Not good."
Except he's Russian in Zach's version.
No, he was just holding his breath with the cigarette smoke.
Got it. Okay. Well, anyway.
Judgment.
Captain Takayama immediately radios Tokyo area control. And this is what he says. "Tokyo, Japan Air 123, request immediate. Trouble. Request return to Haneda. Trouble request return, descend and maintain 220. Takahama repeats, his voice strained because there's no air. But in the cockpit, the crew is discovering something even more terrifying. Their flight controls are useless. They are not
There's
doing...
no longer steer and pitch.
They're doing nothing. Our first officer, Sasaki, pushes and pulls on the control yoke. Nothing happens. He tries the rudder pedals. Dead. No response. Flight engineer Fukuda scans his instrument panel, because that's his job, is to check on the instruments, and he delivers devastating news. And if you are a frequent listener, if you were thinking...
Or a frequent flyer, if you would.
A frequent flyer with our podcast. And if you were thinking hydraulic pressure systems, you are a winner. Because in these older school planes, the hydraulic systems are critical. And when something goes wrong with them, you lose control of the aircraft. And they had an issue with the hydraulic system here. So, large aircraft. Unlike small planes, where pilots physically move control surfaces, jumbo jets rely entirely on hydraulic power. So this is similar to power steering in a car because it's really hard to steer a car without having power steering, except this is a motherfucking airplane, like, that on steroids. So I always say when we're talking about this on the podcast, think of hydraulics as the muscle of the aircraft. Pressurized hydraulic fluid flows through lines throughout the plane, right? Just like muscles through a body. And when pilots move their controls, they are sending signals to these powerful hydraulic actuators to do the heavy lifting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A Boeing 747 has 4 completely independent hydraulic systems for, give it to me, Zach.
Redundancy.
Drink. Losing 3 would be unprecedented. So you could lose 3 and still control this airplane. Flight 123 has lost 4. All of them. Without hydraulic power, the control surfaces become impossible to move. They are locked in place by aerodynamic forces, right? Like
You've got 400 mile an hour winds rushing over every panel of this thing.
Yes.
You're not doing it. Like,
Correct.
Put your hand out of your car at 80 miles an hour on the highway. It rips it backwards.
Yes.
Try to lift a 10 foot by 2 foot flap, or however big these flaps are.
No, it's not happening. It's not happening, guys. The aircraft immediately begins behaving like a falling leaf. The nose pitches up steeply. As the climb steepens, the aircraft loses speed and it threatens to stall, and then the nose goes down, plummeting towards the earth. The increased speed generates more lift, causing the nose to
go
up, and the cycle repeats. This is, oh my God, must be so scary to be on a plane that is doing this, but this is called a phugoid cycle. And the aircraft is literally like roller coastering through the sky, and the crew is powerless to stop it. But it gets worse, and I learned a new term researching this episode.
Uh-oh.
I'm very excited about this. The aircraft begins Dutch roll, which sounds delicious, but is not good.
Folks, we just watched the Great British Baking Show, okay? She is into the desserts.
Finale. The best way for me to describe this without getting like weirdly technical and it just becomes really boring to listen to. If you have ever seen drifting, car drifting, Tokyo Drift, if you are a car person, which I know some of our listeners are, this is like airplane drifting, where as the plane is kind of going forwards, the back end of the plane starts literally like sliding out almost in the air. It's crazy, and it'll do that kind of back and forth. If you're curious to see this, there's a ton of great videos that demonstrate this on YouTube. I recommend it. But for me, for you, just consider it plane drifting, which is not what you want. Captain Takahama reports to air traffic control, but now uncontrollable. The controller's voice betrays his shock. Uncontrollable. Roger. Understood. Just like... Controllers across Japan watch helplessly as the blip representing the aircraft begins just wandering erratically on their screens. Just beep, boop.
It's a peacock.
Elevation changes. I mean, the aircraft is flying roughly northwest, away from Tokyo.
At least sometimes.
Toward the mountainous interior. But flying is really generous statement for what it is doing. It's falling with style.
It's Buzz Lightyear.
It is.
This is falling with style.
God. Terrifying. I want to take a moment for us to just have appreciation that while obviously we were laughing and this situation is crazy to think about, there are passengers inside of this plane, and I would hope that I just would black out at this. I don't want to be aware of what is happening. In the cabin, passengers begin to understand that they may not survive. Many pull out notebooks or napkins, anything that they can write on, and they begin to compose farewell messages. So they understand what is happening. One passenger writes, "Be good to each other and help your mother. Father is a fool. Goodbye." Writing a letter to his children. A businessman scrawls, "It's 6:30 p.m. now. The plane is rolling violently. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared, but I'll do my best to stay calm." These notes, later recovered from, spoiler alert, the wreckage, provide heartbreaking testimony to passengers who knew that they were
about to die.
But in the cockpit, we've got 3 very experienced badasses who are not ready to accept death. Captain Takahama, First Officer Sasaki, and Flight Engineer Fukuda begin experimenting with the only controls that are still responding: engine throttle. Their idea is counterintuitive, but it's logical. By adding power when the nose points down, they can bring the nose back up, create thrust, bring nose up. By reducing power when they are climbing really steeply, they can allow the nose to drop a little bit more and try to level her out. I mean, it's very crude, but that's all they got. And the margins for error are microscopic. I mean, this is really scary because if there's one thing I've learned in this podcast, it's that planes love to stall. Like they love it. For the next half hour, the crew fights their uncontrollable aircraft using nothing but engine thrust. Because of the severe decompression of the cabin, everybody on board, including our pilots, were suffering from hypoxia, right? And that is something that we need to keep in mind, is that the crew was able to do this under losing their faculties.
Severe lack of oxygen.
Yes. So hypoxia, if this is your first episode, or if I haven't touched on this in other ones that you've listened to, hypoxia basically means your brain is not getting the oxygen that it needs to fully function. You will start not making sense with your speech will become slurred. It is almost like becoming like a drunk. Like that is, people that are suffering from hypoxia often act like they are intoxicated.
Let's take
another moment. Doing this.
As a passenger, I would probably just get to the point and be like, get it over with. What are we doing?
Fucking crash it.
I am seasick at this point.
No, oh my God. It's unfucking believable. The violent oscillations start to calm, but not stop. But they do become a little bit more predictable. They are learning how to communicate with this aircraft. And does this remind you of any other case or episode that we have covered on the podcast? And you can say no, Zach, because we've covered, we're in like the 40s now.
Yeah,
we've got a lot of stories.
Lots of episodes.
Okay. We covered a case with a DC-10 where Denny was a passenger of this flight, and we had issues where I think the hydraulic system failed. And he had to come.
He was the one that was super knowledgeable and trained people on these planes.
On DC-10s. And he kept saying it was like I was becoming one with the plane and we were communicating. And
you just got to feel it.
Yes, you got to feel it. Well, they're working on doing that right now. They're feeling it. However, they are running out of options, and they are also running out of geography. The aircraft has wandered towards the Japanese Alps, which, bad place to land a plane.
Not very smooth, not very wide for a runway.
Air traffic controllers are trying desperately to help. Tokyo Area Control, Yokota Air Base, and other facilities track the aircraft, offering suggestions, clearing airspace. Controls suggest Nagoya Airport as an emergency site, but the pilots, fighting moment to moment to even keep this thing in the sky, really are not in a position to commit to a destination.
No, it's pretty much wherever the plane points you. You're just like, I will try to come down as smooth as possible.
They are literally in a flight to survive right now. While it is extremely sweet and helpful that everybody's trying to help, they are taking it 5 seconds at a time, just trying to keep this thing up in the air. The crew uses an emergency system to lower the landing gear using gravity. They just pull the plug and she just drip drops right down. And they are hoping that the increased drag will stabilize the aircraft. And it works partially.
For a moment.
The violent oscillations calm somewhat, but they have lost what little directional control they'd achieved through differential engine thrust.
Yeah, but landing gear is fairly centered and equal on each side. I feel like it shouldn't have adjusted that much.
Man, it did. It
All right,
changed.
then.
It changed some stuff. The aircraft continues its erratic path, sometimes climbing over 25,000 feet, sometimes diving to only 20,000 feet. But still, that's solid. Keeping this thing above 20,000 feet, in my opinion, is like, okay, you've kind of got something figured out. The flight path is taking it toward Mount Fuji.
Famous.
While scenic and beautiful is not where I would want to be in an emergency situation like this. At one point, the aircraft does drop dangerously low. Captain Takahama calls for maximum power of all engines. The 4 massive turbofan engines respond, and their combined 200,000 pounds of thrust.
Wow.
Pushing the aircraft away from the peaks. But maximum power amplifies the aircraft's unstable oscillations. The nose pitches up steeply, 40 degrees. The airspeed drops rapidly. At 108 knots, barely 120 miles per hour, the stall warning starts going off.
Yeah.
In a final, desperate attempt, Captain Takahama orders the flaps extended. At 6:55 p.m., in the confusion, the right flaps are mistakenly lowered and then forgotten about. Now we've got some asymmetry happening. So the asymmetric deployment creates a massive rolling movement, and the pilots cannot counter. The aircraft rolls severely to the right. The bank angle increases beyond 80 degrees, nearly rolling the 747.
Well, no, but... Well, I guess if you picture anything over 90 is
Yeah.
as inverted.
Yeah.
But me, I'm just like, for me to be inverted, I feel like it has to be
No,
180.
I feel like for a big ass plane, 90 degrees is like, you can count that. That counts. That counts. The crew raises power to engines on the left side, trying to counter this roll.
Because they don't realize why it's dragging on that side.
But the steep bank only worsens. The aircraft stalls, and it begins a dive toward Mount Takamagahara below. The ground proximity warning system sounds. Pull up. On the cockpit voice recorder, you can hear the desperation. Maximum power, flaps up, max power, max power. Then, Captain Takahama's final assessment. It's the end. Man.
That one will give you chills.
Yeah, it will. Below them, the mountain and surrounding peaks rise to over 5,000 feet. Dense forest covers the mountainsides. Folks, there are no airports. There isn't even a flat area. There is just forested ridges and rocky peaks. The crew has fought with everything they had, refusing to give up, but physics is undefeated. At 6:56 p.m., exactly 32 minutes after the initial explosion, Flight 123's right wing brushes against trees on a mountain ridge at 5,280 feet. The wing makes contact and shears off completely. The massive aircraft flips onto its back. So it is now upside down. It strikes another ridge, and then it slams into the forested slopes. The impact is so violent that it registers on a seismometer 75 miles away. Yeah, like an earthquake. The 747 disintegrates. It breaks into thousands of pieces. Fuel ignites immediately, creating a massive fireball. The wreckage explodes. The longest 32 minutes in aviation history are over. The worst single aircraft disaster in history has just claimed 520 lives.
Man, that's a big number, especially for a single aircraft.
That's exactly it. Single aircraft, 520 lives. But incredibly, impossibly, we will have survivors.
Yeah, because you said something like 524 or something.
Outstanding memory, Zach.
Well, no, it's not. But in this moment,
Yes. We have 4 survivors. Okay, so let's talk about what happens after this thing goes down, which is what a shit show. Within minutes, a U.S. Air Force C-130 spots the crash site and reports the location. A helicopter and resources at the local air base are put on standby, ready to launch a search and rescue operation. But Japanese authorities either recall or never dispatch the American forces. The Japanese government insists on handling the rescue solo.
it's not a time for pride.
And this decision will cost precious hours and additional lives. Yeah. It's so fascinating because this is like the opposite of the story that we told. I guess it'll be 2 weeks ago when this gets released.
For the lost plane.
Yeah. Or that one, or the one of the Uruguayan flight that went down in the ocean, and like everybody on that island, they were like, get your asses in the water.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to me when tragedy strikes. Like, this isn't necessarily anybody's fault, at least not that we know yet. Mm-hmm. It's the time to come together, not to try to push people off. Or my first thought when somebody's like, no, I got this, let me just deal with it by myself, is that they're trying to cover something up. So we'll see.
A Japanese self-defense force helicopter reaches the site as darkness is falling. By this time, it's dark, smoke reduces visibility, and the helicopter crew reports that they see no survivors. The official decision: wait until the morning.
Ugh.
Oh my God, you guys.
This isn't easy. Let's go back to home base.
Unknown to rescue authorities, multiple passengers have actually survived. They lie injured in wreckage exposed to the cold mountain air. Off-duty flight attendant Yumi Ochiai would later provide a haunting account of that night. After the crash, I heard harsh panting and gasping noise from many people. I heard it coming from everywhere, all around me. There was a boy crying, "Mother." I clearly heard a young woman saying, "Come quickly." Suddenly I heard a boy's voice. "Okay, I'll hang on," he said. Yup.
Don't love.
Oh, I hate it. Survivors lying in the wreckage, hearing rescue helicopters overhead, waving desperately, and then listening as those helicopters
Fly away.
fly away. And most heartbreaking, Yumi is listening to these voices fall silent. One by one, people stopped calling out. Medical experts estimated that between 20 and 50 passengers actually survived the initial crash, but died from injuries, exposure, or shock while awaiting rescue that came too late. It is not until 10:30 in the fucking morning,
They felt like having coffee and donuts first, huh?
over 15 hours after the crash, that Japanese ground rescue teams finally reach the wreckage. What they find defies all expectations, obviously. But there were 4 survivors, all women and girls, all seated in the rear section.
Interesting. The rear section kept them the safest after disintegrating first.
So we have Yumi, who was our off-duty flight attendant. She's 26. We have Hiroko Yoshizaki, who is 34, and her 8-year-old daughter, Mikiko. Love that name. We have Keiko Kawakami, 12, who lost both of her parents and also her sister in the crash.
Wow.
4 survivors, 520 deceased. How did they survive? The answer lies in physics and impossible luck. When the aircraft hit the mountain, the front section experienced deceleration forces exceeding 100 times gravity, which is instantly fatal. The aircraft went from 300 miles per hour to 0 in a fraction of a second. But the rear section broke away during the impact and tumbled down the mountainside separately. Experiencing lower G-forces, all 4 survivors were seated where the aircraft structure remained relatively intact, creating a protective pocket. It was pure chance, sitting in exactly the right seats at exactly the right moment, with the structure failing the exact way that it did.
Which just happens to be because of the exact way that it crashed.
It's all luck. The 4 are carefully extracted and airlifted to Tokyo hospitals to begin long recoveries. But their miraculous survival is overshadowed by the magnitude of the loss. Among the 520 victims are entire families gone.
Multiple generations, I'm sure, all traveling together.
Yep. These are just ordinary people who were literally going home for a holiday. The nation of Japan goes into mourning, and within days, it became clear that this is not just an accident. This is a national tragedy that will reshape Japanese aviation forever. The crash sends shockwaves through the global aviation community. With 520 fatalities, it becomes the deadliest single aircraft disaster in history. Period.
Wow.
But what terrifies authorities worldwide is that it involves their beloved Boeing 747.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a fundamental design flaw, it could ground the entire fleet. And this is a workhorse of the industry, so that would absolutely
Bankrupt
really
people.
Fuck some shit up. The investigation is led by Japan's Aircraft Accident Investigation Commission. The good old JAIC. Just kidding. It's JAIC with assistance from the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, Boeing itself, and the FAA. The NTSB sends veteran investigator Ron Schleid to assist. Come
Bless
on,
you, Ron.
Do you imagine him with like a big, juicy mustache?
You're thinking of Ron Swanson.
I absolutely am. And who else would you want pulling up to your crime scene?
I don't know. Cousin Ron might have shut down the whole thought of what that Ron would look like to me.
Oh my gosh.
Real scraggly beard.
Yeah. My cousin? No,
Yeah.
that is not who I'm picturing. I mean, maybe if you need like a drum circle led. The crash site is a logistical nightmare, a remote mountainside accessible only by helicopter, with thousands of pieces of wreckage scattered across the steep, forested terrain. You know, easy. Then comes the first major break. An amateur photographer captured an image of Flight 123 during its final minutes.
Oh.
How crazy is that?
Just getting low and they happen to be in the right spot with a camera.
When experts enhance the photograph, they make a pretty startling discovery. The aircraft's entire vertical stabilizer, which is that big old tail fin,
Was gone.
is gone. Like it's just not there.
Fell off.
This focuses the investigation, obviously, on that area of the plane.
Yeah, backtrack their flight 30 minutes, you'll find it.
Yeah, soon, the Japanese Navy discovers pieces of the missing tail floating in Sagami Bay, which is exactly where the aircraft first reported its emergency. This confirms that whatever caused the disaster originated in the rear at the moment of the initial explosion. I mean, the tail didn't fall off during the crash. It failed at 24,000 1,000 feet.
And early into the flight?
Yes, and only 12 minutes into the flight. Investigators examine the aircraft's maintenance history, and they have to go way back in time, but they do discover that this flight had a broken tailbone at one point. We're talking about the tail strike incident. And following that incident, Boeing technicians had repaired damage to the aircraft's rear pressure bulkhead. What does that mean? This is a dome-shaped metal barrier that separates the pressurized passenger cabin from the unpressurized tail section, right? So think of this like a cap to a soda bottle. It seals the pressurized area so it stays inside.
Keep carbonation.
That's exactly it, yes. Except instead of carbonation, you're keeping freaking pressurized oxygen. When investigators examine the wreckage, they make a pretty devastating discovery. The 1978 repair had been done incorrectly. Boeing's approved procedure called for a single continuous splice plate. Do you know what that means, Zach?
It's kind of what I was describing earlier.
It's a metal band.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is secured with 3 rows of rivets.
Oh, I guess you're not welding to the body of a plane.
Nope. So it's a big metal band, and it's got 3 rows of rivets, and this distributes the stress evenly, right? It's critical that this is done properly, because if there's stress in a particular area, it will fail. But the technicians used 2 separate plates with only 1 row of rivets holding the critical joint between them.
That makes you question how it even lasted as long as it did.
This created an uneven stress load. Let's think of this like we are repairing a broken pipe in your house by wrapping 2 separate pieces of tape around it with a gap in between them, right? And then all of a sudden the water comes spraying out of that gap. And you're like, oh no, what happened? You don't want the gap. And this created a gap. The faulty repair could only withstand about 70% of the stress of a proper repair. So with every flight, with every pressurization cycle, microscopic cracks were forming and they were growing. During thousands of repeated cycles, the plate weakened. And I agree, Zach, it's incredible that it held on for 18,834 flights. That's crazy. When the bulkhead ruptured, it blew a hole approximately 6 to 10 feet square. Pressurized air from the cabin blasted into the unpressurized tail section with tremendous force because for anybody who's ever punctured a Pillsbury dough can,
that's what it does.
That is intense. Yeah, and this is obviously that on complete steroids. This explosive rush of air literally tore the tail apart from the inside. The vertical stabilizer was ripped completely off. The horizontal stabilizers were even damaged. And most critically, the failure sliced through all 4 hydraulic lines that were running through the tail. In an instant, the aircraft lost directional stability and all hydraulic control. The crew spent 32 minutes fighting an impossible battle. The investigation's conclusion is a single maintenance error made 7 years earlier doomed 520 completely random people.
You know, it's an interesting thought to me, and a little bit off topic because it was a moment ago when we were talking about it, but having the redundancy, I get it, of all 4 hydraulic systems.
Yes.
But that's like having your backup generator in the same case as your regular generator, and then it gets struck by lightning and both are destroyed. Like, you got to have leads coming from all different directions in case there is damage like that to one side so you don't lose everything.
It's an outstanding point. It really is. Because I agree with you completely. And I'm passionate about this. because I
passionate
love
about
me.
redundancy.
I love me some good old redundancy. Boeing does accept responsibility for the faulty repair. The company's top 747 designer breaks down in tears when investigators explain how the improper splice plates caused the crash.
Clarification real quick. You did say that it was Boeing technicians that
Yes.
fixed it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Boeing. Yes. And this is not the technician. This is the designer. So this is the guy. Okay.
I'm just clarifying that it was Boeing themselves that fixed it, which is why they're claiming responsibility.
Yes, that exactly. Yep. And while there's no fundamental design flaw per se, although Zach and I happen to disagree with that because it's hard to have redundancy when all of your redundancy is in the exact same place. The fact that Boeing technicians made the fatal error severely damages the company's reputation. Japan Airlines faces even more intense scrutiny. How did the faulty repair go undetected for 18,830 flights? What? The answer reveals systematic failures in maintenance oversight that will lead to sweeping changes across the aviation industry. The crash rocks Japan to its core. For Japan Airlines, the tragedy is existential. Existential. Public confidence plummets. Domestic passenger numbers drop by a third.
Wow. I don't blame them.
That's crazy. Japanese Airlines president Yasumoto Takagi publicly apologizes and resigns. He's out. But the corporate fallout goes way darker than that. 2 JAL employees, maintenance manager Hiro Tominaga and engineer Susumu Tejama, commit suicide.
It's an unfortunate reality of the stresses that take place in that kind of job, especially when you do feel personally responsible.
And they leave notes expressing their shame. It speaks to the depth of Japan's culture of corporate responsibility and the crushing public pressure on JAL. I might be wrong, but this is not the first time where we have covered a Japanese case where somebody ended up committing suicide because of guilt due to their association with the incident. Japan Airlines paid approximately 780 million yen, which is 7.6 million US dollars, in condolence money to victims' families. And Boeing, there were lawsuits. Boeing reached settlements, but the amounts were not disclosed. But I hope they were substantial. The disaster leads to sweeping changes in aviation safety. Repairs to critical structural components now require multiple layers of inspection, folks. Which, no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah.
On
And
that one.
should be every time that it's in for maintenance, too.
Yes. No single tech can sign off on pressure bulkhead work. Boeing updates its maintenance manuals with clearer instructions and institutes new quality control procedures. Inspection requirements are strengthened for aging aircraft, especially, with regular detailed inspections to detect fatigue cracking. And man, fatigue cracking is something that I can't wait to tell you this story, but I have to wait until January because it's about Hawaii and we're going to Hawaii. So I'm timing it for that, but
You're the worst type of person.
oh my God. There is a case about fatigue cracking, Zach, and it's going to blow your mind. Aircraft manufacturers begin exploring backup flight control systems for complete hydraulic failure. Zach, this is exactly what you were talking about before, where you're like, how is it possible? All 4 of them could be broken. That is not...
The reality of the way that they had it set up is their redundancy only covers if it has a line rupture in one of the systems. Mm-hmm. Then the other ones are still in place.
Yep.
Fine. And yeah, you're not going to have that happen a lot. But if you rip off the whole section where you placed all of the systems, then you're still screwed.
It's crazy. And yes, I think that they are starting to think more about like, okay, we never want to imagine horrible, catastrophic things happening, but we should still build the planes
Yeah.
in case.
That's kind of the thing is you have to imagine those things so that you can prepare for them.
Oh my gosh, they should hire me. I'd be so good at sitting in the boardroom and being like, okay, imagine if. And you'll be like, Jesus, Alice, like,
You're just going to be like,
chill pill.
pop quiz, bird strike, what do we do?
Bird strike. Okay. So some modern aircraft now include electric backup systems.
Good.
Great. Others have redesigned hydraulic lining routed to prevent a single structural failure from severing all the lines. So can we give a huge shout out to Zach for coming up with that idea? We love it. All the kudos to you.
Make it sound like I designed this.
You didn't, but you knew that it had to happen. And most importantly, Flight 123 validates the heroic technique that Captain Takahami and his crew pioneered, controlling an aircraft using only engine thrust. This knowledge directly inspired flight instructor Denny Fitch to experiment with simulated hydraulics failures in flight simulators, which he had to use in real life on United Airlines Flight 232 when it lost all hydraulics in 1989. And our badass Denny Fitch, probably one of my favorite stories we've told, he actually makes a partially successful kind of crash landing. Like, it's still a crash landing, but he got it to an airport, and they did end up being able to save many of the people that were on that flight.
Which is a big increase from where we're at in this one.
Yes. Japan Airlines retired flight number 123.
Superstition. It's a huge thing.
And they established the Safety Promotion Center at Haneda Airport in 2006, actually displaying wreckage and recovered farewell notes.
That would be hard to see, I think.
That's insane, guys. To be in an airport.
Yeah, and just be like, this one crashed and died.
I think for other people to be like, oh, the most insane, catastrophic plane crash of all time. Cool. Terrifying.
I do appreciate, though, that is also kind of a culture thing. The Japanese culture is not here to hide from their mistakes. They're like, this happened, we're fixing it. Mm-hmm. And now they just plain have it on display.
And every August the 12th, families gather at a memorial installed at the crash site. Captain Takahama's daughter, Yoko, later became a Japan Airlines flight attendant herself, honoring her father's dedication to aviation. Just like such a badass move. If something kills your parent and then you're like, they loved what they did, I'm not going to be scared and I'm going to go into that same field, I think that's pretty baller. And then Yumi, who is our flight attendant that survived this insanity.
No, she kept working, huh?
Oh, she returned to flying after recovering, though she spoke of the guilt of surviving. I mean, obviously it's...
Everybody in something like that is going to have survivor's guilt, though.
And then she is haunted by the night that she spent trapped in that wreckage, listening to people slowly die. I mean, that is a level of torture that I can't even comprehend, especially that little boy. Like, oh my God, for any of the parents or people that are close to kids listening to this, it breaks my heart.
You know, it does beg the question to me, because she was just in the small part of the plane that had ripped off and rolled down the mountain, where she heard, you know, multiple people still alive, at least at that time. I wonder if there was any kind of survivor at all in any of the other parts of the plane.
That's a good question, and I don't know.
You would think, no, based on the impact, not just that kind of stopping force.
Yeah, that is for sure catastrophic.
Yeah.
Like, you will not survive that. So I think all of the potential 20 to 50 initial survivors were in the section with Yumi. Flight simulators have been programmed to recreate what the crew faced, as they always do. So this is a pretty standard practice. And professional test pilots have attempted to replicate their achievement, and they have never been able to keep the plane up for 32 minutes.
Wow.
None of them. So
that's where pure instinct takes over, though. You have to be in the moment to be able to deliver like that.
Yeah. And it is on that note of massive kudos and respect to our incredible pilots and our flight engineer who managed to do something that is really impossible, that I want to end this episode, Zach. So that is our story for today.
Well, it's a touchy one, very good one, but it's a large death toll. And I don't know how, especially Yumi, could continue to do that kind of work. That could not be me.
Yes.
I would count my lucky stars that I was able to make it through.
Yep.
And deal with my survivor's guilt in my living room for the rest of my life.
Here is another incredibly wild fact. So, despite recommendations from the flight engineer to use their oxygen masks, which Zach, you brought up, is like that's the smart thing to do, is use the oxygen masks. The pilots actually did not put them on, and it is not known why they made this choice. Obviously, there's nobody who can tell their side of the story, but we do have from the black box conversations of the flight engineer saying, put on this oxygen mask. And the pilots do not follow that instruction. And this could be why the flaps were uneven. Hypoxia played a massive role in this story.
But I mean, I can definitely jive with that, if you would. But I think they also just avoided putting them on because they had their hands full. There was nothing that they could do. Like one moment of not doing only plane work, trying to drive that thing, would have crashed it way faster.
So true. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. It's tragic. It is the most catastrophic as far as casualty single plane crash in history. That's a big story. If this is your thing, please rate, review, and subscribe. Another podcast that I was listening to was like, if you don't want to leave us 5 stars, just email us. Email us your feedback. If you're loving it, 5 stars would be a really great gift for us. Tell a friend. And Zach, do you have any final words before we wrap this thing up like a Christmas present?
Yeah, I don't care so much about the stars. Leave whatever stars you want, but you do cause severe anxiety in my wife.
Join us next time when we will be exploring another transportation disaster story. And until then, remember to stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for the unexpected, because not every trip reaches its final destination. Goodbye.
Peace.
Ooh, peace. Love that. Love that, Zach.